also have quite a large number of meetup events, as well as over 5,700 Slack members, part of our main community. We also have a Discord and a website that you can go join. We can post links to those in the chat in a couple minutes. And we also have a lot of initiatives, a couple of which will be talked about in more details tonight, including NeurotechX chapters, which right now you're all at the SF chapter virtually. We have student clubs for people that are part of schools. We have our Slack and our Discord. We recommend right now joining our Slack, but also please join our Discord. We have NeurotechX EDU, where we have a lot of educational materials for people who want to learn more about neurotechnology or want to teach others about neurotechnology. We have a newsletter that gives people updates about what's happening in the field. And we have a number of NeurotechX services that help people find jobs and take care of what they need to do in the industry if they're either new or they're moving around the industry or trying to find new projects. We also have a number of newer initiatives and projects, one of which that I want to bring up right now is that we have a number of big initiatives we're trying to push, including our NeurotechX diversity initiative and diversity consortium. And one thing that really helps with this is if people go on our Slack and try to join it and see if they can give any input or lead us to any information that might help. We've had a number of people send us different presentations and different events that people can go to learn more about how to make diversity and inclusiveness a bigger part of what we do. So the thing that's coming up really soon is that it's Women in Science Day very soon, and we had a few events we wanted to share. So I'm going to paste these in the chat. Yeah, so we're definitely looking for all sorts of voices on this, and this initiative has quite a few different focuses. Some of them are improving education for people who currently aren't able to get into the industry very easily, whether that's because they don't have enough money or easy access to education, or are in a country that has a very difficult time getting hold of some of this hardware. We also want to try to reach out and develop our educational material in multiple languages, because that's something we also noticed is a lot of the coursework that others and NeurotechX has developed over the years, it's only in English. Even though we have a massive community all over the world and really would like to have it in as many languages as possible. We also want to try to figure out ways of supporting diversity within some of the companies and businesses we help support, so that they can either make sure they have diversity training or have access to stuff and are able to find people with different backgrounds that they might not as easily find otherwise. Yeah, and then Morgan will probably talk about it later, but we have a hardware hub initiative where we have a pretty much a web store for different neurotechnology products that people that are part of Neurotech Tech X can get a discount on. And um, I'll also talk about something a bit later that's kind of chapter specific stuff. But for now, let's go into introductions. Are there any new people here this week that would like to introduce themselves?
Hello. So I would like to introduce myself. I'm Emilio. I'm currently working as a freelance developer. I'm also trying to build a project to analyze the open source data and try to use natural language understanding to see how clusters people come together. And I guess the main point of that is trying to sort of interface data with humans. Like BCI is just like more direct approach to that, to the visual sort of interface. So I think that's why I'm very interested in learning about it, to see how we can make synergetic systems with data and AI.
Very cool. Thank you for your introduction. Where are you located out of, if I may ask?
I'm in Mexico City.
Oh, wow, cool. Just south. I mean, quite south, but still, like, not 5 time zones different.
Yeah. Hey, I might be the closest person to you at the moment, and I'm in Louisiana.
Yeah, like that's what I noticed. Your map doesn't have sort of Mexico in there. That'd be some exciting place to go.
Yeah. Do you know? Is there a Mexico City chapter of NeurotechX yet, or at one of the universities in Mexico City?
I couldn't find any. Yeah, and I just literally got introduced to NeurotechX, but there's a very exciting emerging, like just about like a week ago, one of the largest sort of computing research centers opened their cognitive science lab. So it's very exciting, like to see how they're starting to recognize the space. So yeah, there aren't many that I know of, but there is like emerging right now.
That's cool. Yeah. I know Morgan and some of the other people who actually help run different chapters more than like I know I am running this right now, but like Morgan could probably help you get in contact with the people that'll set up a chapter down in your area if you want, or connect you with some researchers in the area if you want to find other people in the area who are already part of the community. Because yeah, I am actually surprised, but also not surprised that Mexico City doesn't have a chapter. Just because like there is a lot of research I know in biomedical that happens in Mexico. And it's thank you for coming and joining this meeting. Hope to keep seeing you. Yeah.
Hi, Emilio. I'm Manuel, the one of the co-founders of the Latam chapter. Nice to meet you. If you have you considered starting a chapter in your city?
I'm considering now. Yeah.
Yes, you definitely should. If you wanna start something, maybe we can get in touch. I can write you through Slack or whatever.
Yeah.
Great to see you here.
Emilio, also like there's I will drop my website. There's like a lot of my email and that sort of contact information.
Cool.
Great.
Yay. It's already happening. Yay. This is great. I think it would be also wonderful if like maybe by next year you guys will be able to join us for a West Coast buzz in review like we did this year. Then we'll have Mexico, US, and Canada, and that would be really cool. And then at some point, trying to remember if there's a Brazil chapter yet, or Argentina, or any of the South America countries that have chapters, because working in time zone can be very helpful.
Yeah, like I know some
It
people.
is actually.
We have to schedule 8-hour difference and like 4 in the morning type of events, like in a town in Russia. It's yeah, like that's the cool part about it, that we're in the similar time zones.
Cool. Are there any other people who would like to introduce themselves?
Hello, everyone. My name is Bruno. I'm from La Paz, Bolivia. I am also part of the LATAM chapter. And I'm in my last year of psychology. And I'm very interested in learning all I can about coding, signal processing data, well, in Bolivia, it's hard to find a neuroscience related lab, like especially for an academic, with an academic orientation. But yeah, I want to learn all I can before I don't know. I would love to look for a scholarship, or to make a master's degree in neuroscience or cognitive neuroscience. Like that's kind of my dream right now. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for your introduction. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Eni. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I actually heard Bruno talk, so I wanted to follow up. I'm actually in Dallas, Texas, and I'm a third-year PhD student in cognition and neuroscience, and we work a lot in neurotechnologies. And so I've been following the NeurotechX group on Facebook, and we're always looking for graduate students. I mean, we had one graduate student from Nigeria who just started his PhD with us in January last month, and so our lab is always interested in more PhD students, and of course, we're always trying to diversify our group. We work with neurorehabilitation technology, and that paired with this wireless device that helps with brain plasticity for recovery in people with brain and spinal cord injury. So if any of you are interested, then just please let me know, and I can go ahead and put my email or our lab webpage in the chat box. And if you guys are interested in meeting with my professor or talking to me about our lab, I'm more than happy to reach out.
That's
that would
really
be great.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
what I wanted to learn from you guys actually is that I, as a neuroscience student, I'm still learning Python. I'm working with a lot of bioengineers and mechanical engineers on these device development. But the direction I kind of want to go into is not just academia, but also like entrepreneurship. So being able to be like a fly on the wall and observe how you guys are talking about neurotechnologies is very helpful down the line. So thanks a lot.
Thank you for
Great.
joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to you. It would be great to reach you.
Yeah.
Great. I'll put my email and lab webpage in the chat box.
Cool. Are you on Slack as well?
Yes, I am on Slack.
Cool. Yeah,
go ahead.
I do recommend, like, for people here, if you want to reach out, also reach out on Slack. In case I know email can sometimes be a mess. Slack can be a very good place right now for different people in the community to connect. And yeah, you should present at one of these meetings sometime about the work you're doing and how your space is looking for PhD students. We have pretty full day today, but definitely I recommend either emailing Morgan or talking with him probably on Slack to see if there's a week where you could present about the opportunities at your lab to the community.
Sure thing. Very quickly, I do have the Slack app, but I'm using it for my research. Could you somehow add me to the NeurotechX Slack channel?
So wait just a sec. I don't know if I have invite. It looks like I do. Oh wait. I'm going to wait till Morgan gets here for that. I think he probably knows how to do it better. I generally don't know how to add people to Slack.
Yeah, no worries. Great, thanks so much.
That brings me to a question. When are we going to migrate completely to Discord or some other social media platform, social messaging?
Yeah, that's kind of like we're trying to slowly do that, but it's like we can't do a massive instantaneous jump. And the couple of us, like me and Morgan and the couple other Discord admins, we really need the integrate a bot that cross posts between them. But right now we just have to spend a lot of time copying stuff from Slack. And for the people here who don't know, we do not have the nonprofit version of Slack, which means we have a 10,000 response limit, which, considering we have over 5,000 people on it, you lose institutional memory very quickly, and that can be very dangerous. I've dealt with that in a couple other situations where you lose history so quickly that the institutional knowledge of the group it slows down development of a lot of things. But yeah, join the Discord. I'll post the Discord join link in a little while. But yeah, I know we have a someone who wants to do an announcement from Tech X LA. If they are here, I know they I think had to do it quickly. Yeah.
This is Sean. How's it going?
Go for your announcement.
So, in coordination with y'all, we're doing on Tuesday at 7 p.m. February 23rd. We're doing a fireside chat with Cindy Wu. Cindy Wu is real interesting because at 19 she founded experiment.com. It wasn't called experiment.com at that point, which was one of the first crowdfunding platforms for science. And she's recently moved on and doing some other really interesting startup stuff. So when you talk about wanting to learn about startups and wanting to learn about the intersection between science and startups, she's a really good contact and a really good person to sort of listen to. So that'll be 7 p.m. at 2 February 23rd. And we also recently started a new channel called Neuromarketing. So there's nothing there now, but we'll be looking to fill that out with interesting stuff. Neuromarketing being the intersection of neurotechnology, neuroscience, and marketing. So how do you do marketing better, understand the brain a little bit more deeply through neurotechnology? So those two things are happening. And we're going to be having a few more interesting speakers come up as we get that all nailed down. I'll do a shout out to this group, but also Morgan is involved with all of that as well. So, but I just wanted to make sure this whoever's on this call right now got that info. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Sean before he has to leave? Or
Sorry, I should have
Yeah.
hung around.
Yeah.
I'll take that as a no.
Yeah. Still, thank you so much
Oh,
for.
actually, Sean, sorry, where can I find the link or the invitation for it, the RSVP?
So it will be on NeurotechSF's meetup, and it'll also be on the Neurotech LA meetup website within probably tomorrow.
Okay.
And will get announced in several channels that you'll most likely be a part of on Slack. So,
Great.
and I mean, if you happen to, we promote it on Facebook and a few other platforms, but I suspect you won't run into those. So the easiest places, either SF's or LA's meetup.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Cool. Do we have any other new people tonight who would like to introduce themselves?
I can. Hello, everyone. My name is Mikhail Haji. I'm a 15-year-old here in Toronto, currently really interested in a multitude of different brain stimulation, including like transcranial direct current stimulation, TMS, RTMS, DBS, etc., etc. Right now, I have done a multitude of different BCI projects and hackathons in order to really maximize my learnings, and also have been working with the team at BrainFlow on an academic article in order to really gain more exposure on the API. Currently, I'm looking for internship opportunities at neurotechnology companies in order to 10x my learnings and really grow my network.
Hi, Mikhail. Is that right?
Mikhail.
Mikhail. Hi, I work with Andre at OpenBCI.
Pardon?
Andre, who is is the creator of BrainFlow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also helps us at OpenBCI.
Yeah.
So, hi.
Hello.
Cool. Yeah, I think is there anyone else who wants to introduce themselves?
Yeah, I'm Oscar. I'm based in Seattle. I'm also new to these discussions. I am currently invested in a lot of different types of research and technologies, but currently I've been diving into how different neurostimulation can be used for patients with sleep disorders or just disorders of the brain in general. And I've been diving into that a little bit. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Cool. Welcome. Wow, we have a lot of new people tonight. Thank you guys all for taking time out of your day to come join us. I don't know if any of our presenters are here yet. Because I do know John Griffiths is supposed to present about the Open BCI Data Challenge, but I don't see John here right now. So
Hey, can I ask Mikhail a question before we move on?
go for it.
Mikhail, did I say it right that time?
Yeah.
All right. What language are you working with?
Personally working with Python.
Oh, yeah. The Python code for BrainFlow is super simple. I like running tests in Python. And I was always, whenever Andre, before he did the first big public release, I got to help with the C++ tests. And that was actually my first exposure to C++. So it just from experience working with BrainFlow helped me learn about coding, cool stuff. So you're definitely on the right track.
It's really, really, really helpful. And to like this,
they said just copy one of the other ones and change it around. There you go.
Exactly. It's very like easy to apply to different, different projects and stuff.
The thing that actually the test that I wrote, whatever, one tiny little test. BrainFlow actually has a ton of tests that run in CI. So managing how you do that with an open source license, now that Travis and other automated deployment softwares are saying, you know, you only get so many minutes a month. Even GitHub Actions is doing that too on private repos. But we needed to make sure that the serial port for the Cyton was getting released after each session. And there was some, you know, serial port business involved with that to make sure, you know, if you have a data stream and you close your Python script, that you don't have to restart the device. That was kind of aggravating. So
yeah, it's
what
awesome.
devices are you using?
Personally using the Ultra Cortex 4 with Cyton.
Yeah, but the cool thing with BrainFlow is if you even want to start comparing the output of two devices, or I think more importantly, with BrainFlow, you can start saying, I want to develop an app and I want it to work on 3 different devices, depending on what people may have, or maybe it's like, maybe it's dependent on where people live, right? The Muse is sold and made in North America, but that's not as accessible to people in Thailand. So maybe a headset comes up over there, and if they want to add their thing to BrainFlow, boom. Andre really does care about application developers. That's one of his like primary, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for him, but he does consider what he does with BrainFlow to make sure it's easier for other developers to pick it up and use it. That's probably his primary concern, and I think that might. There's a whole bit on the OpenBCI community website where we did an interview with him, and he goes through all of it.
Yeah, I read it.
He created it and everything. So
I read it too. Great. So how old is BrainFlow?
Like a year.
Yeah, I've been using it since the beginning.
We had the GUI v5 out in the fall, and so BrainFlow came out early 2020, so that was before COVID, and we were working on it the whole year before that.
So it's kind of relatively new. What
Yeah,
were
it was
you guys?
developed in 2019 and released in 2020, and now it's out in the wild.
What were you guys using before BrainFlow for your GUI?
Well, we had an OpenBCI hub that like ran as a background process, and that was a Node.js Electron app.
Okay.
And it worked as like a server. And well, I can just say it's much better now with BrainFlow because he writes all the code is basically C++, and then he ports it to a bunch of other languages. And he makes and every board therefore has to add these own methods of how exactly do you get the 8 channels or whatever from the device. Each board specifies that, and you can change your board and say just get data, and all you have to do is pass in a board config at the beginning. Before, it was like the sprawling node library all split up, and if you wanted to debug something, you had to jump between 3 GitHub repos, and it was kind of hard.
Yeah. I think it's good to let people know that BrainFlow is not only for connection, but it also has analysis modules, machine learning modules. It's actually close to getting a more complete suite.
Like the old OpenBCI GUI, we removed the focus widget because it simply looked at FP1 and FP2 essentially just on the 4PED, and that the ratio of the alpha band was greater than it wanted the alpha band to be high and the beta bands to be low in those 2 electrode positions. And Andre said that's not real classification. And it's true. If you just close your eyes, that's kind of going to happen. You may or may not be actually focused. So he added a focus metric to BrainFlow, and I'd like to bring it back to the GUI this month. I have it on GitHub marked as that so.
Can biofeedback widgets be re-added? I heard that there were widgets with the biofeedback feature, but were, I don't know, scrapped from the project.
Well, it was a focus widget, and we're going to bring it back, and it should be better. The reason we need to bring it back is Andre built in like a few different options for the classification, and it'd be best for the community to try to see which ones work best for actually getting focus. We'll see.
Yeah, that is one of those things that focus has been talked about in different EG situations for years. I mean,
The go-to for the brain flow focus is, I think, linear LDA, linear discriminant analysis. So
yeah, very cool. Yeah, I'm happy you guys all were able to connect, and I can't wait till John gets here and can talk about the OpenBCI competition. While we're waiting for him and Morgan, I have a couple other quick announcements. This so right now there's a design competition for like brain, it's called Brains and Games. I am sharing it. It was presented a couple weeks ago. It's pretty cool. There are three main categories of brain games: VR, neurotech, and health, and then computational art. Um, and these are team things, and you don't have to build a prototype. You pretty much just have to create a game design document if you've ever know what those are. Uh, it's looks like a pretty cool competition. And I know we have a couple other things I'll be linking, or I'll actually let Morgan link because he probably knows more about a couple other upcoming competitions, a couple conferences. Ooh, an unconference. I love unconferences. They're the best conferences, or are they? And then to a chapter specific point, we finally today have access to the NeurotechSF chapter website, which we actually haven't. As the SF chapter, we have never actually had access to our chapter page, and I know a lot of other chapters also haven't had easy access to their own chapter pages on the NeurotechX website. So we're going to start updating that, doing things like I'm going to share my screen and show you our current page. So we currently don't have much other than a little header, a link to our meetup, I'm pretty sure, or oh, actually, it goes to the events listing page on the NeurotechX website, which hasn't worked in years, if I remember correctly. Upcoming events, not really any info. What to expect from chapters, that's kind of useful. Past events and projects, and then join our team. So we have quite a few ideas of what we want to add. I did want to read out a list I sent out, and I know everyone here can give ideas if they have any ideas of what we should add. Yeah. So few of the pages I think would be useful for people are a people page where people can introduce themselves and to people who are looking at the website trying to learn who's part of this chapter. A hardware we currently have page so that people know what hardware our group has access to. So if they come to one of our meetings specifically because they need help with a piece of hardware or want to test a piece of hardware out, a communications page that has access to our different social media, whether that's Slack, Discord, Meetup, a events page, of course, which will have links to our Meetup, and I don't remember if we still have a Eventbrite page for when we do like paid events, which I don't think we'll do much. We don't do much. And then at some point a donate/fundraising page, because one thing a lot of people don't know is almost everything people do in Neurotech X right now is volunteer, to the point of the nonprofit itself doesn't have that much money. Also, it's because Neurotech X is out of Canada, it doesn't actually have a US nonprofit like location per se, because that also limits the chances of getting grants and getting donations for certain projects or getting hardware donations. Of course, we'd want to have a project page and a local resources page, which I think is something chapters should really try to emphasize, that they can connect people with different groups in that local area. So, like in SF, we have a lot of places in the Bay Area that have neurotech labs or are maker spaces or hacker spaces where people can work on building hardware, testing hardware, fixing hardware. But also a GitHub, of course. I think we might by tomorrow have the GitHub back up and running a bit, and might try synchronizing a couple projects to it. I'm not sure which projects are on it right now. It's been a few years since it was used. But does anyone here have any questions or comments or ideas about like what a chapter page should have? Because right now this might only be like the SF chapter, or I don't know what other chapters have access to their page currently, but I know I'd love the SF one to work well enough that we can just give the code to all the other chapters so that they don't have to rebuild their own websites constantly. Any comments? Cool. Then I'm trying to think what else we have to announce. So let's see. One thing that looks pretty interesting, and I know we've tried to let people know about before, is that there's a pretty cool neuroscience and AI podcast called Brains Inspired, which like there is a lot of content on neurotech stuff that people can find nowadays, and this is one of those items that can definitely help people understand some of the different things and theories behind different projects and how different things interact, because neuroscience and AI both have a lot of overlap, and will just have more overlap in the future. There's a lot of AI algorithms that people are trying to use to understand what a EEG scan might be actually detecting, or use a EEG device to maybe be an input into an AI model. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. We also, yeah, I'll wait for John Griffiths to get here. Yeah, the hardware hub, I'll let Morgan talk about as well. Yeah, and it looks like we have a couple minutes. Is there anyone else who wanted to give an introduction or talk about something they're currently working on?
I don't want to give an introduction. This is Sean again, but a lot of times during this meeting, a lot of interesting things are posted during the chat. Is it possible for that to be then posted, those links to be posted on the, like that podcast, for example, is not in the meetup. Would it be possible to post those on Slack after the meeting?
Yeah, so that's a very good point. That actually was in the meetup for this week. But me, Morgan, and I think one or two other people, we all copy the chat after every meeting. We just haven't been posting it online because we sometimes we can just be lazy or be doing a lot, and usually it's like it's very late where some of us are after the meeting ends, so we get kind of tired. But yeah, we plan to post all of the meeting notes online at some point with emails removed and so other personal information removed. We kind of want at some point for a bot to be made. I know we recently, I think it was either John Griffiths or someone created a bot that pulled all the information out of the NeurotechSF Hack Night meetup and copied that to a GitHub repository, so people who want to know what week a certain talk happened can go find that. Also, for people who might not be able to make one of these meetings, you can always go to our YouTube page and watch the meetings there. I think there might be one or two meetings that still need to be uploaded from a couple months ago. But pretty much every meeting in the past 12 months almost has been uploaded to YouTube. But yeah, very good point. We'll try to get the meeting notes actually posted online pretty soon. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just my hand. I just wanted to say hi. I joined a bit late because I live in India at the moment, and it's pretty early in the morning. So, hey everyone, I'm Priyanka. I would be moving to San Francisco this fall 2021. I am joining Stanford University as a graduate student with the EE department, and I'm just happy to hang out here and hear what you're sharing. And also, thanks a lot for this community because I am relatively new to neuroscience, and this community has been really, really helpful for me to kind of kickstart and get into speed pretty quickly. So, thanks a lot for that.
Cool. Are you part of the one of the India chapters yet?
So I did join their Slack group, but Slack channel, but there wasn't a lot going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think they have monthly meetups right now online, or I can't remember, but quite a few other people from the India chapters show up to these meetings every couple weeks. So, but yeah, since you're moving to SF in the fall, you can network for the Bay Area as well. Stanford's stuff is fantastic. I've had a lot of friends go through different programs at Stanford. I've thought about taking a couple classes there for fun because they actually allow people to walk into a lot of their classes even if they aren't students or aren't in that program. So it since you're going for graduate studies, you already, it sounds like, have kind of an idea of what you're trying to do, but yeah, you're completely allowed to do whatever you want, glean any knowledge from the community. And are you trying to go into neurotechnology after you get through graduate work or go into academic research?
I am not sure about what I want to do after graduating, but I'm quite sure that I want to work on something that's related to memory extraction. It's kind of creepy, but I think that is something that hasn't been worked on a lot extensively, and I am just trying to find labs at Stanford right now which work on neuron level, basically kind of like putting chips into people's head and trying to read the neuronal output. But again, there's a problem with that because a lot of these are not happening in the hippocampus. They are usually happening in the motor cortex or somewhere else. So it's something that I want to do in the long run, that I hope to do. And I am also kind of in the EE department, which means I would be doing coursework on electronics and electrical stuff, which can be directly relevant to neuroscience. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's very cool.
sure,
Yeah.
sure, definitely. Yeah, certainly I would. I was
Yeah.
also just quickly curious, is there a Stanford chapter for NeurotechX? I did see a Berkeley one, but there wasn't a Stanford one, or is it just me?
I Oh, you go, Ed. I
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Also, I do know, like, because the Bay Area is sometimes kind of integrated, there's times where certain universities will have it and others won't, and everyone will, yeah, glom to one specific place. I know, like, the SF chapter, quite a few people would come up from the valley or come across the bridge for it. But yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of people at like Stanford at and UCSF that I think could start like student clubs. I mean, I know UCSF is a graduate only school, but it it makes sense if we make starting student clubs easier, which I think is part of the problem right now. Like I don't know if student clubs get their own websites currently, in the same way chapters do. And if they get, like, anyone can join NeurotechX and get access to all the services and the discounts on the store. But yeah, it would be awesome if a Stanford chapter did pop up, because also there's a lot of amazing talks that happen at Stanford. I know I've gone to a couple nanotechnology talks there and one or two theoretical physics talks. But I don't think I've actually gone to any neurotech talks at Stanford yet. But it is a wonderful place to be for neurotech because the Silicon Valley does have a lot of companies that do different parts of neurotech, whether it's product design, software, research, and I know quite a lot of them are always looking for like graduate level internships or independent contractors. I mean, the Bay lives on the gig economy and dies on it as well. Currently. But yeah, hopefully by next fall we can have in-person meetings and you can come actually meet some of the chapter in real life. Yeah. Does anyone else here have any projects or things they have a question about or want to announce?
I do have a
I am
question.
sorry. Yeah, I'm really sorry. I
No, go ahead.
accidentally quit the meeting.
Oh, oops. Um, how much did you miss?
I was around till where you said why these chapters weren't existing and that it would be nice and how this process should be made easier. So I
Yeah,
guess I was there for most of it.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I would. The only thing I really said after that is hopefully by next fall we'll be able to have in-person meetings again, and you can meet some of the chapter in real life and get to hang out, try some of the equipment, just have fun in person.
I hope
Um,
so. I really hope so.
yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
It sounds like Oscar had something he wanted to say.
Yeah, so recently, I'm not too familiar with the structure of these meetings, so I'm not sure if this is the right time to be asking a question about an idea. But so recently, I've been diving into how neural modulation techniques, specifically TDCS and TMS, can be used to inhibit certain neurotransmitters in the brain. And this essentially helps patients with sleep disorders by minimizing the hyperactivity that occurs at the onset of certain disorders like insomnia or narcolepsy or some of the other sleep disorders. And so I was wondering, I posted this in the Slack, but I was wondering the why hasn't technology like that been commercialized yet? Like, are there any barriers that I'm not really aware of? Like, if we could create some sort of headset that essentially stimulated people while they were sleeping, as it's done in labs, how come that's not being done already?
Yeah.
Apple Watch.
Oh yeah, there's Dream, and then there's also New Rune, I think. But I think you're right about Dream with two E's.
Yeah. Uh, Another big issue is in the USA and actually in most countries, you have to get clearance and certification on these devices. And for medical devices, you're looking at usually minimum 2 to 4 years once you've finished the device to get clearance because like FDA clearance, I know, especially when it has to do with stimulation stuff, you have to go through a couple extra steps because it's discharging. And if there's a problem with electrical paths, that could really hurt someone. Much more than something that's collecting data. I mean, anything electrical that you put on your body has to go through a ton of different clearances. Um, but yeah, I think Alex had something else he wanted to add. Yeah.
That helps a lot of. That
Yeah.
helps clear a lot of things up. Yeah. Thanks.
I do know there was at the Buzz in that the West Coast Buzz in Review a couple weeks ago. I'm trying to find it. They talked about that there was a clinically FDA recently approved a let me find it a Alzheimer's like kind of treatment using I don't know if it would
I think they said it was supposed to remove the plaques.
Yeah.
Early stages.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that.
I mean, I'm not really a researcher into brain materials, but it sounds like it might work.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, this
Kind of like with cardiology, they have a number of tools to go into arteries and try to remove as much plaque as I don't. It's the same word. I'm not sure how it works. Can anybody explain what brain plaques are like to me? I'm familiar with what heart plaque is. There's a like a tubular valve in the heart, and it's like a pipe. And then there's all this just like gunk and trash that's reducing the total volume of flow. And then if that gets cut off, then you're going to be in pain. And I think you have a heart attack at that point. So how does the brain work?
Yeah. Yeah, so I posted a link to the spot in the Buzz and Review. Yeah, so it was Neuro EM Memor EMTM. Was it? And it's the first ever treatment to show to reverse Alzheimer's. And it got FDA breakthrough device status. And so I know that uses some sort of stimulation. Don't remember which one they said. But also I do know it was I think 2 weeks ago we discussed that was a recent research paper by UCLA, I think it was, that someone was able to treat people who were in a near comatose state using stimulation to help them regain certain things as motor function and be able to follow conversation after very few treatments. Like I think they said after 2 treatments, this person who was in a near comatose, like almost vegetative state, was able to hold a pen for the first time and was able to follow a conversation. Yeah.
I
But
found the answer to my question. I just dropped it into the chat.
cool. Still, yeah,
The health, so I think they got it right. It's amazing that we at least know. I think that's probably points to how they have a solution to fix it by now. They must have known what causes it for maybe 10 years.
Yeah, that's where a lot of this stuff is very cool. So yeah, Oscar, definitely keep like researching. I know over the past year or like even past 6 months, we've talked about um TMS and all the different types of stimulation a lot more than I think we did like any time previously. Because it really has taken off very quickly, and I definitely would expect that it could have some impacts on sleep. And also, if it can be shown that, like, some of these treatments can be done while a person is asleep, that could be very helpful. I don't know there's been any research of doing specific types of stimulation when someone's awake or asleep. Oh, yeah, so the
Awesome. Thank you.
You know what? My first thought, I just leaned back and I had a thought. You know, you were talking about stimulating people with electrical current to their brain to help them sleep. Yeah. Yeah, not magnetic though, huh? Not the magnetic type of stimulation. You're interested in those two? Cool. But what about like simple vibrations? Like slow oscillating vibrations, like because babies are rocked to sleep and everything.
I think the main crux of my research was noticing that in patients with certain sleep disorders, there's unusually high concentrations of a neurotransmitter that acts as an accelerator called glutamate, and there's unusually low concentrations of another neurotransmitter, which is called a gamma aminobutyric acid, and that's the type of neurotransmitter that your body emits when it's ready to go to sleep. It's kind of like it promotes muscle relaxation and sedation. And so I was thinking if the technology like TDCS could be used to inhibit some of these, at least
They're
the
overactive.
sorry.
Did you say these neurotransmitters? There's too much activity, and that results in insomnia, or there's not enough? Or
It's a bit of a dual system. So there's too little sedation going on, and there's too much hyperactivity. So there's too much glutamate and too little gamma aminobutyric acid. I have some research papers on this that I can send in the chat.
Oh yeah,
And
that would be wonderful. I'm just thinking there might be the problem with like testing this stuff is if you did community testing, you'd be getting a lot of night owls. About half of the like neuro hackers I know, they all get up in the afternoon and go to bed at like 4 or 5 in the morning. So it's like like you like that's something that definitely should be explored, especially for people on different timetables, whether they how long certain people sleep. And like I would have to guess that to actually get any decent result on any one person, it would have to last quite a while. And
if you're gonna do a study, it might be meaningful to have a control group and maybe another one where people just simply exercise or swing or something. Because that's what most modern psychiatry will recommend. They'll say, go do some exercise before you go to sleep and see how that works. And they will clinically suggest that before they prescribe medication. And I think that's good medicine at this point. I'm not a doctor, but that's what they seem to do.
Yeah. I wonder how like doing like brain training before bed could also affect something like that, like physical.
If they don't do well on it, then exercise is a thing. Like you can walk, and everybody can walk if your legs work. I'm not trying to exclude people that are handicapped, but brain training is like, because I've even suggested to my elderly mother that she start doing dual in-backs because she tries to say that these little games that she plays are training her brain, and I'm like, well, scientifically, they use dual in-backs to measure focus and a bunch of other things. And so now I got grandma playing dual in-back.
Yeah, I mean, like, exercise does so much to the body.
She plays it late at night, but I don't think it helps her go to sleep. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, also things like taking a nap during the day. How does that affect it? What about people who don't live on a 24-hour schedule like I did for a couple years?
Colonel, I saw them. Their little internal testing was they was looking at how if people get less sleep or more sleep, how that affects, I guess, their ability to do work. So. Yeah, it's like on their homepage or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think sleep. I mean, we've had many discussions over the years about sleep and how, like, it's one of those things that people should, if they have headset, they should be tracking their sleep if possible with as many devices as possible. Which it like I know a couple people here. I a while back talked about the Aura ring, which has a PPG sensor, a body temperature sensor, and a lot of people use that for sleep tracking. And think I don't remember if it fully. We've been trying to get data off of it that we can synchronize with like a Muse S, because the more data you have between person being awake and being asleep and can do long tracks, I think there is so much we don't understand about sleep, and I know a lot of people here would agree with that, and how it's something that it's 50% of our lives to a degree is sleeping. And what our body does during that 50% matters almost as much as the 50% we're awake. So then again, I actually 1/3 if people get 8 hours. I like getting I sleep a lot. Like usually I sleep about 11 to 13 hours. But I can also happily stay awake for 4.5 days straight. As well. So like I'm not a great test participant for sleep studies.
I have a question. Does anybody know anything about like commercial pilots? how long do they have to stay awake? I know
Oh.
like stealth fighter pilots might end up having to be awake for 36 hours or 40 hours. I'm sure the military doesn't want to release this data on these pilots, so I don't know how we would test that. We could test commercial pilots and maybe get that public, but
Firefighters as well. Like in California, forest firefighters, most of them, they are on 24 to 40-hour shifts. During
somebody
some
could make a
friends-
rig for them that fits in a hard hat.
Oh yeah. Because I know people who are like pretty high level at Cal Fire, and like even if they aren't fighting the fire, if they're helping coordinate, they have at minimum 24-hour days. And they have to work 5 to 8 days. I know someone that had 20-hour days for 50 days straight a couple years ago.
That's like I did drum corps, which is like for professional marching band in the United States, and it was a lot of extreme exertion over the whole summer. But I didn't do that for 5 years straight, like some of these pilots do. Alex, were you going to say something about the pilots?
Yeah.
And it's not an amphetamine. Is it like a non-amphetamine stimulant, like Concerta? Is Concerta? I'll look it up.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I that it's used to treat narcolepsy, sleep apnea, and shift work sleep disorder, but it's
I know some people like 2 firefighters and a couple other like long shift people who they've taken it, and it makes a big difference. But also like that's another thing to study with like EG and stuff, is just how does that what is it inhibiting, and what secondary effects?
It's not entirely clear with the citation on Wikipedia. Okay. Oh no.
Oh, it would make yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see a movie on that just because it would be hilarious.
I mean, I have personal experience with stimulants because I was diagnosed with ADHD around first grade, and that was the pinnacle of prescribing Ritalin. That medicine did not work for me. Tried Adderall, and it seemed to work till I got to college, and then they didn't want to write it anymore because I was an adult. And I guess ADHD just flies away like a little bird, right? But there are a lot of negative effects of stimulants. I mean, when you're not on them, I had issues of I wouldn't eat during the week, and then the weekend comes and I'm just absolutely starving. So it's just not a viable solution. So this modafinil sounds like thing. But
Yeah.
Oscar, it is. Are y'all interested in people that don't respond to medication? I mean, psychopharmacology for sleep issues it's been around for a while.
Mostly, yeah. It's
You know what? Ambien is not a good med either if we're talking about meds that are just bad.
Yeah. Also, if we can,
4? Wait, that's a little bit silly. It's a Schedule 4 substance. Oh, that's
Yeah.
because they want to be able to use it with the pilots.
Yeah.
But they don't want it to be just bought and sold.
Yeah. Yeah. Still, I just like I know that at least there's a lot of people right now, especially in California, that want to do research on sleep affecting firefighters because of how dangerous, how long they work and stuff. Because literally, it is one of the most intense jobs if you're actually fighting a forest fire for months of a year and literally driving across the country. Because Cal Fire, they respond to fires all over the US. I know a lot of Cal Fire people who they drove nonstop to the World Trade Centers. And I know people in New York who drove to the California fires. And I know a couple people who they went after California's fire season, they went directly to Australia for another 2 months. They work on one of the most absurd schedules I've ever seen. And if they can they want to do more analysis of stress and how sleep deprivation might affect PTSD. If they see something while sleep deprived or just how their body handles stress at these absurd timetables over and over and over again. So I think that's a good place outside of the Air Force that could be good for research, just because I think they're very up for it. Whereas I don't know how much the Air Force wants public groups just talking about, hey, this is how fighter pilots do everything. Yeah.
Oscar, are you trying to convert this into like a product, going from research to product, or are you conducting research? You said, I don't remember.
It's mostly research, just like Mikhail. I'm also a student, so most of my work is in research, but
Yeah, that's what all these papers you shared say. They say they need more research to make sure to remove the bias.
yeah, it is
It
mostly.
should be pretty straightforward if you get 50 people for a study and X number of them have sleep disorders that aren't responsive to XYZ medications. That should be, the data should be really clear. And I think we're already seeing the products that come out. There's not going to be one brain product that's going to do it all. it's like you mentioned 2 different types of electronic current, and maybe it would be interesting for somebody to finally put both of those into one device. Say like this one will treat your anxiety, but this one's for your depression, and it's a different type of current for a different part of the brain, and that would be a big selling point because then they could sell for 2 diseases. And especially that actually happens clinically. People have clinically diagnosed anxiety and clinically diagnosed depression. That's why the doctor is writing this med for this and this one's for this. That would be
Yeah.
sounds
So
like
wouldn't that need double approval from like the FDA? I think
this is probably what's taking so long because
yeah.
I haven't seen very many papers, and maybe it's not good science to try and do 2 diseases at the same time, and that probably limits the research, maybe. You know, Alec, I tried to explain this to people in Louisiana. They'd be like, "You're gonna shock my head." I don't know. This is gonna have to. It's controlled electroshock, but like such low voltage.
Yeah. Yeah. This isn't no Van de Graaff generator to the forehead. Yeah, since it looks like Morgan might be a bit late, I'm going to bring up a couple of the other things that we wanted to talk about. So there's the second BCI unconference. I'm going to post the links in the chat. Yeah, so I haven't looked into this much, but up on screen in just a sec. Internet is loading. Cool. Yeah, so this is it already started actually, and it looks like how many days? It looks like it's only 2 days, and it ended today. But looks like there's quite a few good speakers on different stuff. Ooh, yeah, this stuff looks really cool. I hope that they post the videos somewhere. So crowdcast, yeah. Hopefully maybe next week we'll find out if anyone went to this and if there's a place where the video is stored from the different presentations, or at least the presentation slides. Another thing that we wanted to talk about this week with the brain connectivity series, which I'll post in the chat as well. Yeah, so it's a series of workshops through this entire month. Yep, 5 workshops. So far only the first one has happened. Yeah, let's see. So let's see what the next workshop's on. Oh, interesting. So sample preparation in mammalian whole brain connectomics. Yeah, it's always interesting to see how different animals have, like, their brains work quite differently or quite similarly, and how imaging can detect a lot of that stuff. Oh, cool. They have a draft agenda. Yeah. Continuous? How continuous? I kind of want to know. Like, did they embed a device in the brain? Hmm. Huh. Yeah, very interesting. So if people want to check out some of these workshops, I posted the link. Yeah. Oh wow, another mammalian workshop. So let me post some of these. Oh wow, there is a lot of workshops coming up. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I'll just copy all of these into the notes. Um, because everyone can read these. I definitely want to see if there's anything other people want to bring up or talk about. I still don't see anyone here from, like, John or Morgan aren't here yet. So, and I think they're 2 people. Is anyone else here updated on the current state of the Moab work going on? Guess not. Still, for those of you who don't know about Moab, it's a very cool project. Mother of all BCI benchmarks. It's been getting a lot of development recently. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what they just added to it. Because they've been talking about adding to it and making it easier to access. Let me paste this in the chat as well. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so in tell Morgan or let's see, did we have any yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we still have an hour. I thought Morgan would be here by now. Because yeah, I should have looked over a lot more of these myself. But yeah. Did any? Oh, yeah.
Do you know if Moab is going to implement deep learning frameworks or pipelines?
Uh, I'm trying to remember. I think we've talked about like I don't know if it will, but there might be packages that you can that we're trying to get work with it. Like I know a while back now, wow, it's been a while, we talked about using computer vision to analyze EEG signals that were converted into a color, like two-dimensional
Spectrogram.
color, yeah, spectrogram. And there was some research on that, and we thought about trying to apply that to both
Right.
EEG notebooks and Moab. And I know I've once or twice talked about different like backends for machine learning and AI, including one from NVIDIA called Rapids.ai, which is kind of a really high speed, like it's faster than their regular CUDA. Like it's been specially optimized and it's pretty much, I don't remember what license it is, but it's more open source than most NVIDIA things. Um, and we talked a bit about trying to use that for some stuff if possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Whoa. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Yeah, do you happen to have a GitHub link for that project? Great, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Oscar. Hope to see you around. And I definitely think we'll be talking about stimulation a lot more in the upcoming months, especially with a couple of these devices now having or a couple more devices having FDA breakthrough status. Hopefully we can get our hands on some, but I don't know who we'd want that, like how we'd set up if we wanted to do any research as NeurotechSF. Just because stimulation is a bit more in depth than just sensing and like recording brain activity. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Eureka challenge. Yeah, that was the one with the um interesting stuff. Cool. Yeah, there anyone here who joined late who wants to introduce themselves? Mm, let's see. Guess not at the moment. So,
Hi, everybody.
oh, cool. Welcome.
Sorry.
Hey, Morgan.
Gung Hei Fat Choi.
Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Pretty good. We got through a lot of the um notes for tonight from the meetup. Though if you had any new info on the hardware hub or any I shared some of the stuff from like the diversity meeting, and pretty much everything's been shared in the chat at this point if you look.
I'm seeing the chat. Okay. And okay, cool. So sorry. I know I said I was gonna be back by 7, but it was crazy and yeah, big yeah. UN was making lobsters and it was good. But so wow, okay. Eni came too. Wow, we haven't seen her in a while. So she joined from UT Dallas. What was the kind of stimulation that she was doing? Was it Vegas? Do you remember? God, when she talked.
Yes, it was
Jenny?
vagus nerve stimulation.
Yeah.
Jenny is still here.
What's that? No. Eni. She's a grad student at UT Dallas. I'm just looking in the chat, and that's cool. Like her, I forget her advisor, but it's like the Texas something. What is it? The Texas. I want to say it's like Medical Device Center or something. Yeah. Did
John didn't get in tonight, so
John
we.
Oh, and so Oscar came, the high school student.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you joined us on Tuesday for neurorobotics.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool. Okay, and so you're in high school.
Yes.
Okay, I love it. Are you going to be watching the Mars lander? See your shirt.
I will. I'm really excited.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's about to happen. Oh my gosh.
That'll be next week. I forget what time of day, but I believe it's the
Probably on an official NASA feed or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be. I agree. This is
I'm happy that SpaceX puts all their stuff straight on YouTube. It's live on YouTube, and then I usually just catch it later, and then fast forward.
Did how about did Victor come? So Victor Thoth was going to come from the Feinstein Institute. So this is it's like a healthcare center, healthcare research institute in Long Island. I feel like I want to say it's kind of like associated with Stony Brook, maybe, but it's definitely out that way, like the east end of the island. And like Feinstein Institute has a lot of really cool people doing, kind of like bioelectronic medicine. But Victor is the guy that did the talk last week on virtual reality for rats. And it was cool. And yeah. And like, there's a good article by, well, one, you can find his talk on NeurotechX's YouTube channel. So like, check it out if you are interested. It's cool because Ann Churchland has got a great kind of quote in the, there's like a 2019 review article of like VR for mice. and part of it is that if, so for so long, animal research is done with basically anesthetized animals, right? And what they're, but still like shining a light on their eyes and stuff like that, right? And what has, come out with VR for animal research is basically like you get a completely different neural response if the animal is basically awake and freely moving from the same stimuli. So it's just like you're shining the same amount of light into their eye, you're getting twice the neural activity, right? And Ann Churchland, not to, I mean, I'm sure other people have said this too, but she just had this nice quote in this 2019 review article where she's just like, that result, this like 2010 result, is why everybody's like trying to do, miniaturization and other kinds of techniques to allow for freely moving animals. But of course, if you want to do it, freely moving, but keep like experimental control, you've got to do basically what Neuroscape does with humans, right? Is like you want a full-on VR environment.
Yeah.
Is going to join. What?
Yeah. Yeah, VR for animals is really cool. I know, when was it? Yeah, September. VR for flies was an interesting thing. That article legit like, really? And then it like, okay, we need to try VR on more animals. And
sure.
Like,
so Drosophila are cool, right? And you can imagine all the good reasons that, as well as just history why people use Drosophila. But honeybees are also great. and there's there's definitely some cool. I mean, these days you could do much better techniques than fMRI, but they've done fMRI of honeybees. I guess they are a little bigger, or you can find good species, good honeybees, good bee species with big brains, or at least bigger than Drosophila.
Yeah, I'd love to see it on birds, or like augmented reality or something, like where they pass through the real world and have a bird like try to do a normal task it does, but with a completely different vision. Like,
the I mean, this is kind of why, or I still point people to Roberto Toro's Brain Catalog, right? Which is this MRI compendium of like every animal. He's like if Noah had an MRI, and so he's got like dolphins. He's got I mean, what is some of the, I don't know what would surprise anyone, but he's got them. And he actually does imaging of ferrets. And one of the reasons is that like if you find the right animals, or like mice and rats, which are the typical animal, actually have a very different, a qualitatively different kind of brain structure, in that it's not convoluted, it's not folded, so it's called a smooth brain, and Roberto likes to point out that probably means that there's some real structural. Oh yeah, I mean cows, sheep, and pigs actually get a lot of attention, right? Because certainly pigs and sheep get a lot of attention because they're used as model systems for a number of basically human things, especially like gut things, and also birthing things. So I don't know how much. I mean, I know it's been done for cows, and there's the great group at Bristol that was doing not only like setting up an environment for pigs, but also trying to use machine learning to capture the pig's expression, what was the emotion that the pigs, so like emotion detection from pigs. That was Bristol.
Did you say emotion detection of pigs?
Yeah.
I thought I heard something at some point that said when they're feeding or milking the cows, they had it might have been a Netflix show, and they were looking at the cows, and they used a camera to look at the cows' facial expressions, and then did CV on that to see what the cow's emotion was while they were.
I want to say that's exactly what they were doing with pigs.
Might have been pigs then.
I can't.
It should be all of them. They need to do tests on all of this. Like, it makes perfect sense.
I mean, here's the one that I was talking about in Bristol.
Farmer feasibly cannot do this, even if he has connections with all of these animals. You can't go around and look at all their faces and go, well, this one needs a shot of or it needs some magnetic stimulation so that it creates better milk.
So this is the one in Bristol that I just dropped in the chat.
That's just my takeaway from doing those types of things in production, is that feasibly one farmer can't do it. So you can kind of outsource the task of taking better care of the animals to the machines.
I mean,
humans though. I think it's important for them to interact with humans a little bit.
Yeah, I could see this applying to like high-end food products, but like the amount of money like Japanese farmers spend on their cattle, like they would adopt this instantly if it could make a difference for milk or for meat. If like they food is a science to the like high-end food industry, and I think they'd adopt this if people were like, hey, here's a VR headset that fits on a cow.
This is the same thing. If this is from Britain, I believe they went on a Netflix series too.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but maybe a Netflix show with like how this works in the brain. They might have shown it on there. I can't quite remember. I probably just checked it out just for curiosity. I was like, how technical did they get with this? It wasn't very technical, but that was news to me. It's probably the same exact project.
So, anybody got idea? Sorry, Richard. We finally got access to neurotechx.com. And I'd love to know what we can do with it. If anybody has any WordPress experience, and I've been given some instructions from Brian that are, well, basically our webmaster gave me a bunch of instructions like don't do these things. But I was also wondering if anybody knows who started the GitHub organization NeurotechSF. I'm still trying to find if that's somebody that we know.
Yeah, I'll check because I think it might have been Alex or. Oh
no! Octavian got in touch with me offline, or out of the big group messenger, and he was thinking that I said NeurotechX. Well, I mean, they read that group.
Is this just a page in WordPress, not the whole site? And the whole site is NeurotechX.
Well, yeah, it's like we get like a landing page. We get some section, and
in WordPress they can likely say you have administrator access of that file, and it should show up for you, and you can edit just that one.
And that's what I wanted to say. Was just like, I think we're going to be somewhat limited with what we can do. I like the fact that we can at least put some content up, and I like the fact that we can also put a link to something else. But my idea was for us to get neurotechsf.github.io, from having that organization name.
I'll ask Alex because I remember.
Oh, you talking about Alex Peak?
Yeah.
Likely the way they're doing. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry.
If could you ask Alex then? Because it's a bunch of JavaScript projects, or it's just a couple of JavaScript projects that have been cloned or forked, like somebody else's JavaScript projects. One relates to emotive.
Yeah, that I think it's Alex then.
Nothing was done with them, and that's it. Like there's like two projects in there, and nothing's been touched in like 2 or 3 years.
I'll check.
That would be cool. I mean, obviously we can come up with a derivative name, but they wouldn't let me take, like, somebody's actually got the username NeurotechSF.
Yeah.
So that's good to know because Alex doesn't read that group.
Yeah.
But Morgan, I checked out the website. I typed in sf.neurotechsf.com,
Yep.
and it redirects you to the subfolder on WordPress. So that I think that means that they made a subdomain on the hosting, and then it redirects to the specific file in the folder. And it's great. I wouldn't stress about it at all. Just find your content. It already looks great. You just fill in the blanks. They did a great job for you.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I think it might be good if we had multiple pages, but if that's not possible, because like I talked about it earlier.
Ask,
about
but I don't know where you would put it in the. I don't know where you would put it in the header. You could have a second page and then create a custom link on here, and that shouldn't be that much heavy of a lift. They would need to grant edit access also to whoever was doing it.
Yeah.
WordPress is cool like that. We
Yeah.
did that with the EEG Notebooks project. We needed a couple of collaborators, and WordPress was an easy reach. They said, hey, we need multiple people to log in, and there you go.
Yeah. One of the only things I don't think we touched on at all so far is the OpenBCI Data Challenge, since John Griffiths hasn't come by.
I can give an update.
Oh, cool. Go for it.
Working on it. But
yeah.
They made some more suggestions, and he's going to have to change it around again or something like that.
Yeah, let me post the link in the chat for that. And then like
nice to hear a yes from the ethics committee finally.
Cool. Were there any?
Victor Victor tried to get in but didn't have the password. All right, that's what he's saying. Let me did anybody have questions about any of the events or there's going what's next week?
What events?
Well, I mean, the big thing next week is the Brain Initiative non-invasive imaging technologies. That's going to be, and it's funny because they've already recorded a bunch of the talks and they put them on YouTube. So I added a link to the YouTube so you can actually catch them now. Yeah. But the meeting's not until the 18th and 19th. That's the big thing, right? This is like hardcore, but hardcore cool stuff. So you can check all the talks, right? Yeah, it's the last link. Yeah. There. That YouTube, Brain Initiative. And it for those who've caught John Griffiths, well, John Griffiths and other professors at the CAMH Center for, the Krembil Center for Neuroinformatics, they did a summer school last year that covered depression at all scales. So it was like started with genetics and then went up to like cellular, like mesoscale, macroscale, whole brain electrophysiology, and then population level. And this GenSpace course that's going to happen next week, I think is a really great intro. They have previously gotten like genetics statistician from NIMH to teach this. She does examples using like AD and Parkinson's. It's really this is the and this is a really great, so GenSpace, for people who don't know, this is the it's the New York City biohacking, or not, like, I don't want to say biohacking because that does kind of have its own definition, but it's a community biolab. So, and I believe that OpenTrons actually started out at GenSpace, which is a open source robotics for molecular biology. So they make robots to do pipetting and things like that. And I want to say that they spun off from GenSpace, but it's a cool spot. And let me just see, did nobody asked in the comments about password. Transcranial ultrasound stimulation, that was a great webinar from BrainBox Initiative. That's another professor, University of Toronto.
Sorry, who is the professor?
Anton Fomenko.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with Fomenko's, I mean, he does seem to be an MD, PhD student. So, but I like what he's doing, and it's cool that he's looking at both focused ultrasound and, well, he says transcranial, neuromodulation with ultrasound and TMS. I wish I knew that. See if John said anything. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, so John messages to say that we are going to have an EEG Notebooks developer meeting at some point. We just haven't quite got around to it yet. I'm definitely game if anybody's interested in learning more about PsychoPy, which is the kind of Python package of choice for most cogneuro people, especially vision scientists, to script their experiments. And so what we can do is take one of the kind of demo experiments. I mean, I've already kind of modified one of their demo experiments to match one of the ERP core experiments, and then we can just add the triggers that we need to do the event locked segmentation, temporal segmentation to make ERPs out of the EEG. That's not everything I know that John wants to cover, but getting more experiments into EEG notebooks is definitely one thing we could bite off. And yeah. I get the feeling that people might have signed up. I'm seeing messages late, so people asking about the password. So if you sign up before 6, you get a message, you get an email from me that gives you the password. But of course, we try to make it super secure.
Yeah, we did have a lot of people show up, like 4 or 5 new people,
Okay.
which were really cool. But yeah, I didn't see that stuff. I think because I wasn't logged in on Meetup.
Well, this is sorry. This is hysterical. So without knowing what we're talking about, I see that. Here's what Yannick posted. Here's what Yannick posted in Slack. Because again, like, I think we should move ahead with all speed on a porcine research imaging program. So we can adapt games to pigs. This is what Yannick posted at 7:20.
I mean, I think we've kind of known that, but there's like you can get apps on like iPads for cats.
Where's this at? What channel?
He just posted it in.
So I just put it in the chat because
yeah.
So I'm going to ask tomorrow why Yannick thought that we all needed to know this.
He has a 4-dimensional mind. He just knows.
He knew in advance.
Wait, was this in general?
They will need to know how pigs can play video games.
Yeah.
They will be talking about VR for pigs.
Yeah. Okay. Now we just need a pig to control that same game, just using its mind. Yeah. I want to play against a pig in a game of VR Pong. Like that would be pretty cool. It like if you
You're
can
gonna remember those losses for the rest of your life.
Oh, definitely.
You're gonna be in a low, depressed state. You're gonna be like, I lost to a pig at one point.
Yeah, but I mean, it's EGVR Pong. Like, I don't care who I'm playing against. It sounds fun. Like, weren't you working on that?
Gonna do that, man. You're saying you want to do that? You've got somebody just Manuel just said that.
Yeah. I was thinking
some scientist is probably going to have the privilege of playing one of those pigs in a game, or I think maybe they would probably pit 2 of the pigs against each other.
Yeah, we need the pigs.
Yeah,
these
need a maze.
Oh, great! Now I'm thinking of like 50 years down the line, pigs will like battle each other in cognitive tests, and whoever loses gets turned into bacon.
I for one welcome our new porcine overlords. our new cyborg porcine overlords. Yeah. So sorry, Manuel. Just seeing that. Yeah, certainly familiar with Open Sesame. Yeah, like what do you think Open Sesame brings? It would be my question.
Maybe the user interface. You can design your experiments a little bit easier. If you don't have any programming experience, you can start doing experiments more easily.
More easily than Builder?
I never tried Builder. I don't know.
Because I mean, certainly a big part of their 3.0 has been pushing Builder, and like if anything, or certainly one of the things that I was talking with John about was like the current EEG notebook experiments are kind of like bare bones PsychoPy experiments, which is cool because, you know, like EEG notebooks whole thing was like being light and easy, right? And at the same time, you know, like the way PsychoPy is going is like use Builder to create your experiments. They're generating a whole lot of codes, a whole lot more codes than you would ever generate, right? And than you'd ever write, right? Because it's like being automatically generated. But that you are getting some other things. So I assume that they're using like a DSL or something like that. And one of the Builder features is if you create your experiment in Builder, then you can also export it to JavaScript and basically run the experiment on their pavlovia.org.
Yeah, I heard that.
And make it into a web thing. So certainly, like, so at NeurotechX Paris, we had, I want to say Ivan joined us. Ivan or Igor joined us, and who's a professor in Serbia, and he's also got a DSL generator for PsychoPy, or he's got a DSL that can generate PsychoPy compatible code and basically use their engine. And we've been, you know, like, well, you know, so the question is like, what would you want from those? Like, you know, what is the best way to make experiment writing easy, right? Because my point was like, it should, at this point, it should take, you know, it should be able to handle a number of complex experiments and make those easy to write. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to give an example, but like
out of the box.
Give me like a DSL that makes it really easy to create like sprite-based games that also give me all the kind of like experimental control features that I would want. You know,
yeah,
something like that, right? Because I mean, I look at Builder and I'm like, okay, you know, for putting together basically like text or picture-based experiments of you know, typical designs, like, yeah, okay, that works, but that was kind of easy to write as well. You know, like I'm not sure. Yeah, anyway, I don't, does Open Sesame have kind of like a particular a particular set of users? Like, is there anything that they've got like already written experiments for, you know?
I don't think so. I saw some examples with the Wisconsin cards. It's more like they don't have a library of experiments or something like that.
And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that PsychoPy doesn't have more examples.
Yeah.
And like the PsychoPy community doesn't share more. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that people don't, you know, like, do people really not want to like care to run other people's experiments? You know, or is it, I mean, I don't think anybody's sitting on their PsychoPy code thinking that they've got an advantage over other people because of their PsychoPy code. I think they might not give out their PsychoPy code because they're like, God, this is so difficult to run. I wouldn't know how to explain it to anybody else.
Maybe the best, well, it's just an idea, but I will try to implement experiments in a game engine that will be really interesting. If you use Unity, by example, you can start
Well, yeah.
preparing
I mean, I just don't know
2D
how
or
it is.
3D like experiments easily.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be easy because as I understand, Andre just added this marker functionality, which allows you to I don't know. I know it's a marker functionality, but then if you're integrating it with the C# binding in Unity, you could now put markers whenever you present the stimulus, right in line with C# code for getting data and everything else. And the only limitation there is how you're sending or receiving messages to whatever board you pick.
One thing that I think is great about using something like Unity is that you can export experiment to mobile and even web or desktop.
I tried that with BrainFlow, and it didn't work with the WebGL export. And then I asked Andre if it should work, and he said it would not work.
Why?
But I had something with the C# binding. Maybe it was he meant like with Cyton only because of serial ports. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, that certainly sounds like a current or what was a limitation with BrainFlow. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still possible at this point to create a Node.js thing, but I don't know one thing's for sure, if you have a device like the Wi-Fi shield with the ganglion, in theory, it should be able to work since it's just a web IP protocol over a local network. That gets kind of tricky too, because if you want to direct connect to a device, you might not be able to have the internet at the same time because you might be doing an ad hoc network. I think I just went off on a rabbit hole. What were we talking about?
We were talking about
direct integration with a game. Sorry,
making games that have enough events. What I looked at before, and this is part of like when we were trying to think about NeuroRacer and could you do a driving? Could you take a off the shelf driving game that exists now, not a commercial one, but basically something that exists in a Linux distro, right? So we're looking at certain open source driving games, especially ones that have a game server, right? If you have a game server, then the nice, somebody's kind of done the work for you in terms of collecting events of interest, and because you're sharing those, right? And and you can get lots of I don't want to call it debugging information. I mean, it's game logs. Internals.
Log files.
Logs. Yeah. And it's just that's what we want, right? It's if we know, so anyway, that was our way of not having to write the games, right? Let game designers do it, and just give us enough of the internals with some sort of time base that we can link to those internals, and we can get timing from the screens and things like that for what additional latency there is from the server, and then the server could be running locally on the person's computer.
I need to correct myself. I'm pretty sure I've made a mistake. I'm getting kind of tired. It's late, but with BrainFlow, I think the marker feature doesn't involve sending anything to the board. It will try to figure out a delay or something. I'm not sure. You're gonna have to, if you want to check out more, you can go to the BrainFlow Slack or look up Google BrainFlow and see what he's up to with the marker channel. But anything he puts into there is then mostly accessible on all of the bindings. So that means it would work in Unity with this chart.
Great.
And if you're already using OpenBCI stuff, you can start testing right away with BrainFlow and Unity. I talked to Alex about that in private chat. It has been announced, and so I can say Galea and BrainFlow are their friends, you know. And they're working on that, and that means you can go to BrainFlow under the Unity integration. We did some work on that to make sure it's a little more clear how to integrate BrainFlow and Unity together. We tried it as a team and made some changes.
Great. I just sent a link about I think it's one of the seminal papers of a field called game analytics. It was implemented in Tomb Raider, actually, for the Xbox 360. And it's maybe the perfect example for what Morgan was saying earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen, I don't think it was this one, but yeah, every year at like GDC, 1 or 2 talks are about AI analysis and machine learning of player behaviors. I mean, also Google loves getting its AIs to play games, either with or against human opponents. But yeah, I do think this stuff, if EG and different biosensors worked better with this type of stuff, like, because a lot of these games can be modded. Like, I could really see someone trying to mod like any Bethesda game like Skyrim or something to try and use EG to like trigger magic, which it's,
You know, that
like,
sounds like a good idea, but I'm going to let you in on a thing. Some of us, while building Galea, some of us think in the back of our minds, you know, what could this be used for, right? And even people now, after the announcement, you can question that yourself. Like, but think of some of the games that exist out there, man. And then you're going to add a BCI mod to it. It might be quite perverted, honestly. I'm just going to leave that to your imagination. But like games that are violent, that want to confirm that you're violent with your brain-computer interface. They want to know that you were focused when you did the violent act. That's like kind of sick.
Yeah, that's where it gets dangerous.
That's the exact opposite of blinking my eyes and then having 2 electrodes here.
Yeah, like that's
it would be awesome, but then there's going to be a section of people like Black Mirror, and it's just going to go off the rails.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's why I missed it, but there was a talk earlier this week about ethics in XR computing, and I'm pretty sure one of the main focuses was on integration with more biosensors, because yeah, that is a very real danger, especially for online games where like
what if
you
somebody
can't
says you can't
separate.
Like, what if a level says you cannot progress to the next level unless we know we raised your heartbeat when you committed a violent act?
Yeah, there's like, yeah, I know like fear, because something that they still
like
haven't
literally a program teaching somebody to commit violence. That should that's somebody they're gonna, whatever Congress does when they call people in front of Congress and do an inquiry, and they're like, well, we're thinking about putting people from these video game companies in jail because they incited violence. I mean, look what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's
but what if you use it for something better, like promoting empathy?
Yes, that is precisely the path that OpenBCI would like to pursue. And Guillermo Bernal, there's an interview with him as one of the collaborators with Galea, and he is trying to promote empathetic computing, and he works in the Fluid Interfaces lab at MIT. He is all about that, And making glia is going to help people like him do the research that's needed to build out apps like that and get the, well, we need the devices first, right? There needs to be a platform so that research can be replicated across labs. That's what making the device is going to help do, kind of like it did with the Cyton and the
Do you
game.
have a link?
I mean,
Yeah.
Galia? Sometimes I say it wrong.
Did Sean Markin make an announcement?
Yes. Some guy that had to make an announcement came in.
From LA? Good. Okay. And thank you, Richard. Just checking. And yeah, I wasn't sure if everybody. Oh shoot! So did somebody respond to Alec? These people signing up right at the. Right at the end. So it's 8:50 here. It's much later on the East Coast. Any last thoughts? Michael, what you working on? Or Mikhail?
Currently just nothing. Like I'm honestly just researching mostly. I did a hackathon like 3 days ago, I think, or something like that. And we were looking at like RTMS and MPIs and stuff, and like different, like how we could use nanoparticles in order to stimulate different parts of the brain in order to treat different neurological diseases. It was really, really cool. So I've been looking into that more.
Magnetics or current?
Magnetic.
So nanomagnetics are a thing? I guess I
Exactly.
think a few devices that, like, I think I saw one recent. It was like a tube. It looked like a snake, but they could bend the snake at will through an artery by manipulating the magnetic fields around it. It didn't.
Oh wow.
That was like maybe a cardiovascular tool, but y'all are talking about, I don't know, just
like optogenetics, but for magnets, basically. It's really, really cool.
Where are you on this at? Being in high school? Are you in an internship?
No, just working on, like, it's something that I'm really passionate about. So I've just been like spending every hour outside of school working with BCIs. But I definitely am looking for internships. So if you know anyone that would be willing to, I'm definitely.
BCI has done internships, but there's not really a thing of it right now.
Did you ask a question about magnetogenetics on Slack?
Yeah, I was wondering whether or not anyone has been, because like I've been trying to look more into it, but I honestly can't see anyone working on it recently. I've seen people work on it like the last maybe 4 years ago, maybe 2019, 2018, but nothing recent.
Well, I'm curious. So I hadn't got around to asking follow-up question on Slack. I mean, I worked on unusual DNA structures as an undergrad, but I didn't know exactly what magnetogenetics would be. Like, are you? Yeah. So tell me what's the definition of magnetogenetics?
From what I understand, it's like there's many different like facets of it, but what I was specifically talking about was more of like biologically or like chemically inserting nanoparticles into your brain, and then from there you have like an electromagnetic coil outside of your brain, which is basically stimulating the nanoparticles inside your brain, and you're basically targeting a specific neuron and binding to a specific neuron in order to stimulate the brain. In
That's close
layman
to
terms, basically.
the term neural dust, from what I've.
Right. So
Exactly, but I think like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
well, so there's definitely. I mean, so when you're talking about magnetogenetics, it sounds more like you're talking about like magneto DNA structures, or like are you familiar with like DNA origami? You know, because like you can make you know various structures out of DNA, and there are groups, you know, synthetic.
For what purpose? Just like rearranging them for fun, like Lego bricks?
Well, it's basically no, but it's nano.
It's like, hey, look how I stacked my DNA.
Well, it's nano construction, right? So
is it to make a structure that then has a different use? Because I thought DNA needs to float around to do its thing.
Right. So in the same way that that protein is a structure of subunits that has kind of a bigger functional, you know, you put together those subunits to make a functional device, right? And certainly like the DNA origami people are kind of doing the same thing. And so again, like one of the reasons that they're doing that is that it's better to make stuff out of DNA than it is to try and make things chemically, in the sense of using you know atoms and compounds and trying to have chemical reactions take place. You know, this is organic chemistry, or depending on what you're making, maybe it's inorganic chemistry. Certainly some of the more interesting chemical structures that are, you know.
Where are you at with your chemistry studies?
What's that?
I mean, the most like every single thing that
are you in Chem 2 right now?
Personally, like I've done IB chemistry, but and then on top of that, just like a lot of what I do is just like self-learning. So like I've really mastered that in a sense.
You need to get through organic chemistry at a college level. If you want to get on this stuff, I'm not an expert in this. Yeah. I'm just another self-learner, but you would need to get through that course. And if you can take early college classes right now so that you can get to that class quicker, that will get you in business, because then they're gonna take it one thing at a time. We learned in grade school about biomes and what different animals live there, and then they start breaking it down smaller and smaller. And nano is like a master's level. That's a little. I don't know many programs that focus on nanotechnology unless it's a physics lab.
Yeah. So out here in the Bay Area, actually, a community college has one of the best nanotech courses in the U.S. Foothill College. Like literally, the professor there, he wrote most of the US's curriculum.
Like, and they have a need for these people that already have science degrees that just come to the community college and up their nanotechnology.
Or like literally half of my class had 2 PhDs in related fields. Okay. Like